-40. Open step. Wind so brutal, skin starts dying within minutes. Your ancestor, no blanket, no jacket, no thermos, didn't just survive. He slept just fine. How? Popular answer, warmed up in a cave by fire. But that's wrong. Caves were taken by someone else, usually with claws and a bad attitude. Today, I'll show you how their system actually worked. This isn't about survival. This is about engineering. The same one military scientists rediscovered in the 20th century and were amazed that it had all been figured out before them. And at the very end, I'll tell you one thing about what they found inside these homes. This genuinely changes the picture. Let's start with the main myth. In textbooks, cave, fire, club. Everyone's happy. In reality, there weren't enough caves for everyone. Most people lived in the open steppe, in winter, at -40. And here's what they figured out. In Russia, at Kostenki, they found pits, round over 2 meters deep, with tool marks on the walls, meaning dug deliberately, by hand, in frozen ground. Why? Because 2 meters underground is 20 to 30 degrees warmer. This isn't a coincidence. It's geothermal physics. The ground works like a giant thermos. Up top, -40. At 1 meter, -20. At 2 meters, -10. A 30-degree difference, just for digging. And they knew this. No thermometer, no physics textbook, just because they tried, tested, remembered. That's science, just without the name. By the way, Scandinavian countries use the exact same principle today. Geothermal heat pumps pull warmth from the ground at 3 to 4 meters down. They call it modern technology. Your ancestor did the same thing, by hand, 30,000 years ago. Then the air above. They didn't fight the cold. They just went below it. As if they said, "Fine, Frost, you whine up here. We'll go down." But the most incredible part, what they built above ground. At sites in Ukraine and Russia, scientists found homes. Not pits with sticks on top, real buildings, made from mammoth bones. Foundation, mammoth skulls. Eich weighs over 100 kilograms. IKEA is nervously smoking in the corner. They started building back in summer, planning winter in advance. Outside, -40. Inside, +10 to 15. From just one small fire in the center. What? This is not a joke. Modern Arctic tents with industrial insulation perform about the same. Let that sink in. Wait, this is not a joke. It gets even better. I'll show how the layer system worked inside the walls. One house, bunts of 15 animals, 8 to 10 people, 2 to 3 weeks. IKEA is nervously smoking in the corner. They started building back in summer, planning winter in advance. Outside, -40. Inside, +10 to 15. From just one small fire in the center. This isn't just a house, an engineered solution, calculated, precise, that kept people alive for 20,000 winters in a row. But that's not all. Czech Republic, Dolní Věstonice, 26,000 years ago. When scientists took apart their dwelling, jaws dropped. There were several layers, and each did exactly one specific job. Inner layer, hide with fur facing inside, traps warm air against the body. Middle layer, dry grass and moss, absorbs moisture, stops it freezing inside. Outer layer, woven bark and reed mats, block wind but let moist air escape outside. This is exactly the principle of modern three-layer clothing. Base layer, insulation, membrane. Gore-Tex was invented in 1969. They used this 26,000 years ago. You can't assemble a wardrobe without instructions. They built a mammoth house from memory. No textbooks, no university. But they already knew what most of us still don't. It's not the cold that kills. It's the moisture. Fire inside, not just warmth, a whole system. Houses had several hearths. Central one, mound. Smaller ones around, each for a specific task. What? I haven't told you the best part yet. They knew exactly how much fuel they needed for the night, prepared it in advance. Because if the fire goes out in the middle of the night at -40 outside, you don't wake up. That's not a horror story, that's just physics. So they took turns keeping watch. Someone was always awake, always watching the fire, every single night. All winter, month after month. And on top of that, they still found time to carve figurines and play the flute. Honestly, I have no excuse for my own procrastination. But there's one problem nobody thinks about. You breathe, you cook food, all of that, moisture. At -40 outside, that moisture freezes inside the walls, and the structure starts falling apart. They knew this. At Kostenki, they found small openings at the base of the walls and large openings at the dome apex, moist warm as exits upward. Ventilation. 20,000 years ago. Some modern buildings haven't figured this out yet. Almost no trees on the step. So they burned bones and dried mammoth dung. Yes, they burned dung. And it worked better than your barbecue lighter. Stay till the end. I'll tell you what else they found inside these homes. And it's not at all what you'd expect. Scientists went through these homes expecting bones, tools, ash. They found that, but also something else. Small figurines of bone and stone, tens of thousands of years old. Flutes made from bird bones. Patterns scratched onto animal shoulder blades. Jewelry from pierced teeth and shells. And those shells were carried 40 kilometers on foot for jewelry. And you say you can't be bothered to go get coffee. Not for survival, just because it was beautiful. The great art of this era wasn't made outdoors in summer. It was made in winter, in bone houses, by firelight. Outside, blizzard. Inside, someone plays flute. One scientist spent years recording what people talk about around a night campfire. Result? Out of then conversations, not about hunting or food. Stories, tales, jokes about neighbors from the next tribe. They didn't just survive the cold. They lived, with humor, music, and art. Look at your thermostat. You set the temperature and forgot about it. One button. Your ancestors spent 3 weeks of work for the same temperature, howling bones heavier than himself, and prayed the wind wouldn't tear the roof off at night. And you know what's funny? We then forgot how to do it, had to reinvent it all. Military, scientists, engineers, all rediscovered what these guys knew 20,000 years ago, without a single degree. So next time you feel cold, remember, your ancestor was building a mammoth house, and he was fine. Rita und Word in the comments. Would you have survived or not? Honestly, we spend our whole lives thinking of them as primitives, while they built homes that outperform modern Arctic tents by hand from bonus at -40. So, who's the primitive one? That's the real question. Vrita un word in the comments. Survived or not?